Welcome to the Happy Recap podcast on this 20th of August. We're recording, and EJ, it's not without reason that we kind of come in on a midweek edition. One, I'm not sure when we record on Sunday there'll be any new baseball games to report on, but certainly the big news out of Flushing and out of Miami today is the positive COVID test of what appears to be a player and a coach.
Yeah, it's a real bummer, man. It stinks, actually. You know, we knew that this was always going to be a possibility this year, as we've seen other teams get affected. Hopefully, this is isolated to just those two members of the team and the staff, and that's it. We've seen other teams, Marlins in particular, who are currently playing, really get ravaged by it. I'm surprised, though. I'll be honest with you, because we've all been watching the situation closely, and I feel to a man, anybody who would talk about the Mets protocols in handling the coronavirus, that it seems like everyone felt that the Mets have been doing a really damn good job making sure that everybody kept the protocols in place. Nobody was out and about wandering. Everyone was basically keeping quarantine. They were doing the regular testing, doing the temperature checks. So I'll be lying if I didn't say that I was surprised when the news broke today.
Yeah, I think that was the way I was feeling too, and several of the reporters around the situation, both locally and nationally, have pointed to the fact that there doesn't seem to be a belief that anybody misbehaved, as it were, as far as the protocols go, but more along the lines of this just simply seems to be somebody contracting COVID-19, or two people in this case, and certainly. I think a lot of teams have learned from the lessons of the Marlins and Cardinals. And, thankfully we've seen a couple teams now that have had a small outbreak of about this size and been okay after a couple of days. Cincinnati Reds come to mind a week or two ago. Lost a couple games and they just had one player and it didn't seem to get beyond that. But looking at it from the standpoint of where we are right here, right now, obviously we can't definitively say it's only one guy and one coach. This could be a full-blown Marlins situation. I tend to doubt it. I'd like to think that the protocols that MLB has put in place since then would prevent an outbreak quite that large. But certainly the next 2 days will be very telling for this New York Mets ball club.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I've seen a lot of speculation on Twitter about who it is that has it. I'm not getting into any of the speculation. I just don't think that's fair at this time. Just like when guys were missing in spring training and everyone was just assuming they had COVID, and then all of a sudden, boom, they show up one day and they're perfectly healthy. So I don't think you can really speculate. I have a feeling over the next couple of days, the detectives of Mets Twitter will end up figuring it out accurately. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a situation where obviously they've already announced tonight and tomorrow are canceled. I think if you're being realistic, you probably have to figure that we're going to scrap the whole series against the Yankees. It stinks on a multiple reasons, particularly as you and I were talking about before we jumped on air, of how the Mets have been playing lately. But I think realistically, if it is contained to just these two members of the team, I think you realistically can probably start playing baseball again Monday safely, knowing that we've had the weekend to do the full testing. We've had the weekend of no new cases, and they can fire it up and play baseball again. And as one of my friends said to me, hey, how cool is it going to be when Jake DeGrom makes back-to-back starts?
We're going for Cy Young type things here. I mean, he wins them, so he might as well pitch like him, every day. The only thing I had said when you initially texted me, I'd actually been returning home. I was driving home from a couple days away, and first thought was Mets have Rona. I of course knew exactly what you meant, but I couldn't help shooting back. Can he pitch? And that's, I think, my only thing. I mean, I could go dance in my head and go, I bet you it's him, or I bet you it's them, or I wonder if it's them, that kind of stuff. I'll be honest. The only thing I'm really thinking is, please God, not a starting pitcher. Just not a starting pitcher, because they're all gone.
There are none. Well, I did jokingly say, because I've been a really big advocate of Seth Lugo, and I know how bad the guy wants to be a starter. And I really actually, the one big knock I've had on Luis Rojas is he is just so adamant Seth Lugo will never be a starting pitcher. He's been so adamant about it. I've been like, wow, Louis, why really hammer it home so damn hard that it's absolutely out of the realm of ever being a possibility. So when I found out, I jokingly tweeted that, man, I don't believe the lengths that Luis Rojas will go to make sure Seth Lugo can't get a start, as he was supposed to get one tonight.
Yeah, and of course, if it turns out that Seth Lugo is the player in question here, you're gonna have to wonder, who gave it to him. Was it Mr. Rojas? No, just kidding. I'm totally kidding about that suggestion. But it's certainly one of those things where it's like, if I'm Seth Lugo, I'm going, okay, some deity out there really doesn't want me to start ever. I give up. I mean, if
it
that's,
certainly feels that way. It really feels that way. And I've been tweeting for like the past 12 hours my glee over the fact that Lugo was finally going to get a start. And now I was very happy that he was going to be serving up a nice platter of shut the hell up burgers to anybody who doubted the fact that he could be a starter. But I know he's been super valuable out of the bullpen. He argued he's been the best member of that bullpen. You could make that argument, but I really wanted to see him get a chance just because I know how much it means to him.
I think the only thing, obviously, with Seth Lugo, I mean, you look at him, I have been nothing but impressed by him. I have always enjoyed watching a pitch. I think he is, whatever role you put him in, will excel in. I think the only thing that ever worries me about him is that elbow of his, and knowing that, that he's one pitch too many away from Tommy John surgery at any given moment, which honestly, especially with the amount of time that's any pitcher, let's be honest. Unless you've already had it, then you're 2 pitches away. But the reality of it is with Lugo and with the Mets, well, the Wilpons only their medical insurance will only carry one Tommy John surgery at a time. But he's not a guy you want to lose for a year. I'd rather have him, given the choice, I'd rather have him in the wrong role than out for a whole 12 months. That being said, he's earned this. He's absolutely, in every way, shape, and form, earned this. And whether it's fear that's held the Mets back or what, I don't know. But I still say, give him the shot and pray it doesn't go wrong.
I totally agree. He has earned this. He has been a great trooper. Everyone knows his desire to be the starting pitcher. Everyone knows about it, and yet they completely continue to refuse. And never once has he pulled an Ollie Perez where he refuses to come out of the bullpen completely. If you recall, when Ollie was sent to the bullpen and he was asked to come out and do his job, he just sat on the bench and wouldn't even warm up. Lugo certainly could have been that way, but no, he's taken it like a trooper, and he's excelled in the role that he's been forced upon him. So I do think that he earned it, and it is a bummer that he's not going to make it. And I'm hoping he gets the shot. I mean, given what we've seen with this rotation over the past couple days and the past week, I definitely don't think it's out of the realm of possibility completely.
No, I mean, it certainly is possible that, you do have that, the situation that, that we joked about, earlier with Jacob deGrom. He very well could be pitching the next Mets game. That's certainly very possible. But apart from that, unless he is our COVID patient, which is, I think, unlikely, but possible. There's certainly 28 possibilities. But the reality of it is apart from Jacob deGrom right now, there is nothing solidified about our rotation. And until we saw yesterday's comeback, after 10 days on the shelf for deGrom, we didn't know what he would even be. So this is if this was a 60s British pop band, it'd be Jake and the question marks.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, Matt's, we figured he has to be in the rotation. And up till 2 days ago, even knowing the injuries that have decimated the rotation, Louis was still giving options to skipping Matt's. And it's like, when you have every man is down and you're still considering skipping someone, then you're in a really bad scenario. So hopefully, like I said, Lugo gets the shot. But if not, I still think they need to reevaluate him. I'm a big fan of unsung Mets. And one of my all-time favorite guys is a guy who gets no love, and that was Darren Oliver. When the Mets were pitching really well out of that bullpen, you had a guy like Oliver who could be a real quick mop-up guy for you. He could take a lengthy and a blowout for you, or he could spot start for you and probably give you 5 or 6 good innings. I love Darren Oliver, and I don't see why we can't consider Lugo for that type of role. I agree with you that there was a time that I thought Lugo's elbow was a ticking time bomb, but like you said, especially in this year with the number of prominent pitchers going down, I feel like that ticking time bomb just looms over the entire league.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Paxton going for having
Yeah.
elbow discomfort up in the Bronx today, and
Yep.
certainly was less likely to see him as we face the Yankees. It really is that I've said to a few people now. Obviously, this was before COVID hit our team, but I stand by this, and this is that one of the overwhelming legacies of this 2020 season will be the long-term damage that it's done to Major League pitching, more so than the effect that the disease itself. Now, that is not saying outside of professional sports, this disease doesn't have impact. Obviously, hundreds of thousands are dead. More have been hospitalized. I'm not trivializing the illness whatsoever. I'm saying as far as Major League Sports is concerned, a couple team outbreaks and a player here or there, and as far as I know, not a single hospitalization. To me, the legacy is the fact that we have sent several high caliber starting pitchers to the injured list with season-ending injuries, with injuries that will put them out until mid next season potentially, all for 60 games. And to me, whether you think that 60 games is awesome or you think they should have just sat out the entire year, it doesn't matter. The season's still happening and the injuries are real.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we're a sports podcast, so obviously when talking about the virus, we're not going to downplay the reality of it, but we have to focus on how the sports come into play, and they've certainly come into play in a big way with these injuries that we're seeing. Whether it was guys just didn't get enough throwing in the summer camp or the spring, and they just weren't prepared, but we're just seeing a lot of guys' arms getting blown up right now, and it's a real damn shame. But I'll tell you, we are a sports podcast. We're a Mets podcast. So I can't lie. I am really sad that two members of the Mets franchise have COVID. I'm really sad that COVID exists. I am, however, and I think every Mets fan, if they're being completely honest with themselves, I am not devastated over the fact that going to play the Yankees this weekend, we are not going to see Rick Porcello, Robert Gesellman, and Corey Oswalt start back-to-back-to-back games.
Oh, yeah, there is that. I mean, at the very least, you're looking at, barn burners. I mean, just, high scoring type games. But the reality of it is the bullpen can't handle that. The bullpen can't handle these high scoring Yankee games. I mean, the reality of it is we saw what it looked like during the, the quote unquote summer camp games of 4 weeks ago. That's the other thing. Think about this fact real fast before we wrap up, EJ. Here we are dealing with the Mets and COVID on the 20th of August, the halfway point of the 2020 season. We're halfway through this thing. We're below 500. We're on the cusp of qualifying for the playoffs. I mean, if it were today, I think we're out by a game and a half or something like that. And the reality of it is it just shows how absolutely wacky these things are. And by the way, you've got 6 games left against the Yankees.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Halfway point, game and a half out with essentially one starting pitcher. And a bullpen who, let's not lie, they did yeoman's work this week. These guys pitched their hearts out this week. So if ever they could probably use a few days right now, it is right now, because that bullpen, it was in no position to go into Yankee Stadium this weekend with those 3 starters on the mound. Granted, Porcello's been better of late, but I wanted no part of that Yankee lineup with those 3 guys.
I mean, if I'm the Mets, and again, this is all based on the idea that it is only one person, one player and one coach sick. I am of the ilk that you should basically treat these potentially 4 days off like the AllStar Break. Kind of, get a little rest, get a little relaxation, get your work in, and then be ready to go for the second half on Monday.
Exactly how I texted it to one of my buddies earlier. I said the same thing. I said, treat this like the All-Star Break. Guys who are hot, keep getting your reps in. Guys who aren't, get your head right, get some rest. Guys who are a little dinged up, the McNeils of the world, if he's not the corona patient, get this time to get healthy, get your knee right, and come back and treat it like the second half of the season, because that's exactly what it is. And in honesty, being a game and a half out, we've seen how quickly that can change, and we've seen the way the Mets have played these last 3 games that they're definitely going to kind of hang around and be in contention.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think that kind of is a great place to kind of leave things as they are right now with the impending, as of now, of course, today's game, tomorrow's game are postponed, pending. It's going to be a nightmare rescheduling those Yankee games. I don't envy anybody on that, but got that coming up. And of course, again, we'll probably return to action. My guess is Monday, although the earliest would be Saturday. If it does turn out to be Monday, I suspect our weekly podcast will be more of an interview focused show since there won't be any action to report on. I was wondering how we'd squeeze one or two of those in during the season. Was not planning it to be that way, but been working on a couple of potential interviews, so we may have that for you for the main show of the week. But wanted to get in here and get the latest and just kind of discuss, from a fan point of view, without dilly-dallying too far into the minutia of investigations, as it were, that you tend to find on, as I mentioned, social media. We're not going to guess who it is. We're not going to guess what it is, and we're just going to let it all play out and continue on with the season. Because I think if there's one thing we're learning at this point, EJ, MLB ain't going to stop. This thing is going to reach the end of the season.
I think barring multiple teams having a Marlins-like outbreak, you're exactly right. So MLB is plowing through. Hopefully the Mets get back on the field sooner rather than later, and they can plow through. And now I have to go plow through my Netflix queue to find out what the hell I'm going to watch for the next 2 to 4 nights.
And that's exactly the same thought I've had, because it's like, what do I watch now? My next few nights of TV watching, although I don't know how long I really had in mind for watching those Yankee games, because you never know how long they're watchable. But I certainly had planned on watching the game that should be going on as we're taping right now, and the ones that were to come. So Netflix, Hulu, send me your recommendations right now. You know my email address. You send them often.
Exactly. Well, enjoy the AllStar break, if you will, my friend, and I guess we'll get back and chat it up real soon.
Absolutely. We'll be back with another show in a couple days here, and until then, let's go get tested, Mets.